Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Real Estate, where we look to choke slam all your real estate problems. I'm your host, former WWE wrestler and a Cirque du Soleil performer, and of course, multifamily real estate investor, Barry Griffiths. Now today we're joined by Joe Marques. And then, hey Joe.
How we doing, Barry?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm still pumped from that first interview we did. It was really good, really enjoyable. And if anyone hasn't listened to it yet, go back and listen to that first episode where Joe walks us through essentially his real estate career and all the highs and lows and everything that went in there and some cool deals and a lot of great tidbits in there. So make sure you go back and check that out. And in that interview, we talked a little bit about mindset, and you said how one of your favorite things is developing investors' mindset and how important that is. So we decided that this second part should be all about mindset, because I'm in the same boat as you. I really believe that mindset is more important than any knowledge you have about real estate, because you can have all that knowledge, but unless you have the right mindset to apply it and to go after it, none of it matters. So I'm excited to talk about this with you. So just from your experience, in your opinion, why is mindset so important?
Well, the reason mindset's so important is, you've heard people say there's three S's to success. There's strategy, story, and state. Unfortunately, everybody focuses on strategy, and strategy is the least important S. Because let's face it, any proven strategy will make you money. If somebody else has made money at it, then it's a proven strategy and you should be able to make money at it. However, if your story and state are not right, you will not succeed no matter how successful that strategy is. And your story is, what kind of BS story are you telling yourself? And for those that you don't know, BS stands for bullshit. Your stories are bullshit. There's been scientific studies that show that basically 80% of what you think is your past is a lie anyway. And minor stories are things like, I'm too old, I'm too young, I can't do numbers, I can't remember names, whatever it is, versus I'm a genius, I'm brilliant. Whatever you say I am, that's what your brain works to make you. Major stories are traumatic events. And when I say traumatic events, I mean both positive and negative, because most people think positive trauma, there's no such thing. However, any moment that you have a charge against keeps you stuck in that past. If it's a positive event, say you won I'm sure most of your viewers know somebody that won the high school football championship, and then they're in their mid 40s and they're sitting on a couch watching TV with their hand tucked in their pants, drinking a beer, saying, remember when we won the state championship, selling shoes. In case somebody doesn't know that, that's Al Bundy, but I actually know real life people that are like that. They don't take care of themselves, and they don't. Versus, and that's a positive trauma, because you only see that one side. Versus, every moment in life has both sides. The universe is always going to be in balance. When you remove that charge, then you move forward into the future, and you can start looking, or into the present, and you can start looking into your future and what do you want to create for your life. Same thing with a negative event. Every negative event has a positive side to you. You may not be able to see it in that moment, but I can tell you the absolute worst things that have happened to me in my life were the best things that happened to me in my life when I look back in hindsight. And then the next S is state. The two of those combined are your mindset. Your state is, what emotional state are you in? Resentment, anger, shame, and guilt are deadly emotions. I mean, they're toxic, they're deadly, they kill more people than everything else combined. In fact, there's a ton of research showing that all of your major diseases are caused by those emotions. And when you're in those emotions, you truly cannot create anything. You're in the zone of desperation versus the zone of inspiration. Whereas when you get to love and gratitude and joy, that's a state of being that you can be creative. You see both sides of every moment while you're in the moment versus being one-sided. And the more work you do around this, the more you realize that you can see that while you're in the moment. but sometimes it's after the fact, and it may take a little while for you to be able to see both sides, but you will see both sides. And then that keeps you grounded in balance to where you can continuously move forward. Now, you're not going to stay in that state, and you're going to have all the various emotions. I'm not saying emotions are bad, because emotions are what get you to move. When you get pissed off, do you move? Usually. But the biggest thing is use it for the action necessary to move you where you want to go, and then dissolve it, get rid of it. Don't bury it and bottle it up. And that was one of my things was I had bottled up a lot of anger, resentment, guilt, and shame is why I was stuck where I was stuck when I was doing the same strategy that made me a multimillionaire the first time around and couldn't go anywhere.
That's so interesting. Yeah, that's so interesting. I love that, the three S's. So when you work with clients, where you usually, every client is different, no doubt about that. But how do you start out with them? What is the status, that process that you go through with them?
Okay. Basically, my clients that I work with on the mindset side are my development students and clients, and I work with them on the mindset around development. Now, if somebody has serious traumas to deal with and things, then I actually put them in front of my mentor, and I'm also a part-time coach with him, but it's using his processes, and that's Dr. Alok Trevetti, Aligned Performance Institute. That man, I have watched him take numerous people, and well, for example, say a rape. Have you ever seen a woman that has been raped and how angry and guilty they are and the shame that they have for themselves? And in less than 30 minutes, if you ask, once he's done with this process, he says, if you saw your rapist on the street now, what would you say to him? And they say, thank you and I love you, with a straight face, and just you can tell that it's genuine and real and authentic, and you watch, it's like they de-age by 10 years. I mean, it's unreal to watch. And I've watched him do it with soldiers with PTSD. I've just watched numerous things, and he's done it on myself. He literally rewires your brain to where you do not have to deal with that. The emotions dissolved and you can move forward.
Wow. What does he do then? How does he, do you know how he did? I'm sure it's not as easy as that, but the high level of it, how does he do it?
Well, he's literally rewiring your brain. He takes you back to the moment. As I talked about earlier, every moment has both sides. However, it's our perception that only allows us to see one side. And the more charged we are on that moment, the more one-sided we are. The more one-sided we are, the more stuck we are. And when you go back to that moment and he carries you through a process that gets you to see both sides, the minute you're able to see both sides of a moment equally to the same degree, that charge immediately dissolves just like that. I mean, it's gone. I've witnessed it too many times. And I do know, and it's documented, he has a 98% success rate on his course with what he does in Aligned Mastery, moving students from a low AQ score to a high AQ score. And AQ is aligned quotient. How aligned is your life with what your values are and what your mission is? The more aligned what you are with your values, what your true values are, not what somebody else has told you your values should be, or subordinating your values to somebody else's values because you're scared of losing them or something in your life because of it. The life becomes a game. I mean, literally, life becomes a game the more you live in your values and toward your mission.
That's really cool. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. What when it comes to real estate investing, what do you think some hangups are that people have that hold them back from investing in real estate or from having more success? Is there some general stuff that you come across all the time that you see? This is a pattern that I see more and more with real estate investors.
Well, I'll tell you one big one. In fact, I'm doing my wisdom chat on Saturday on Zoom. You can go to my Cowboy Joe page and catch the invite for that. Key mindset shifts to make when you're trying to find equity partners or debt partners, either one, is you're not asking them for money. You're presenting them an opportunity. You know what you're doing. You've got an excellent opportunity, and you're presenting them an opportunity to invest in that project and make a return on their money. You're giving them that opportunity. You're not asking them money. You're giving them that opportunity, or even better, you're seeing if they qualify to even work with you. When you change that one shift, it's amazing how easy it is to get money for your projects. That one key mindset shift there will make you a lot of money and make it a lot easier for you to get your money.
And why do you think that shift is so important? That differentiate between asking them for money and giving them an opportunity to be part of your deal.
Well, there's a couple of things. When you make that shift, your certainty changes. And when your certainty exceeds somebody else's doubt, you win literally every time. The other shift is not most people, literally everybody start with a default no. So you're trying to convince somebody from a default no, and you have to give them enough compelling reasons to answer yes to a question you've asked. Where when you switch it the other way around, they're in a default yes and they're wanting to come in. When you're giving them the scarcity, they're like, wait a minute, I want part of this. Well, wait a minute now. I know you've got money, but wait, I need to make sure you're a good fit. Then they're coming to you wanting in versus starting at a default no, you trying to convince them to come in. It's push versus pull. You're trying to push them into a project versus being yourself and them being pulled into the project.
Yeah, that's so true. And anyone who's been investing for a while maybe has a deal that they weren't sure if they wanted or not, and then it goes into contract, and all of a sudden you want that deal really bad, right? I had that happen recently. That's how I know that feeling. And it's the same with this, right? If someone feels like maybe you can't have it, or it's creates them to want it more. So I love that shift. I think it's such an important shift, because also when you're coming from thinking, I want, you're asking them for money, you're coming from a place of weakness, I feel like, almost a little desperation, right? And that comes off. And when you're trying to raise money, that's the last thing you want, is to have any realm of desperation or any of that rubbing off on anyone, because it breeds mistrust, right? And that's definitely one. So I really like that shift. That it's such an easy shift to make, right? Just from asking someone for money to giving them the possibility of investing in a deal with you. So I really like that. Before we wrap up, anything else about mindset that you think is really important? We shared the 3 S's, which is huge. I think that's really cool. And then the idea of rewiring the brain and aligning your values to how you live your life. And then to that little snippet about raising money. Anything else before we go that you think is important to share?
And actually, I've done a talk on this a couple of times. Another important question is, who am I? Not who am I, but ask yourself, who am I? Most people identify as a role or a label, a role that they fulfill, like I'm a school teacher, I'm a stay-at-home mom, or a label that somebody's given them, I'm retarded or whatever. Who am I? We are all perfectly unique expressions of God. And when I say God, that's the God of your understanding. I am a Christian. That's the way I came to know God, but I have studied the various religions, and they're all rooted in the same triumvirate, all powerful being. It's just how they actually get the message out is different. And when you truly know that for yourself and you believe it in here, not here, that's the most important thing. We talk about mindset, but that's intellectualizing. You've actually got to get into your heart. Your heart is where it counts. When you know that you are a perfectly unique expression of God, that God is in you and you are in God, you don't have to go looking outside for God, then life shifts. You are a limitless being. And that's true of everybody. And that's what I truly love, helping people, number one, know that answer. And then number two, truly believe it for themselves.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Well, I think that's a perfect note to wrap this up, man. Joe, thank you so much, man, for taking the time. This has been absolutely brilliant. These two parts have been so fascinating and interesting talking to you. You're one of those guys you could talk to for hours. There's so many different ways we could have gone with all of this. So he's just such a fascinating guy and such a great guy and a fun guy to talk to. So I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to share with us. But before we go, if people want to reach out to you, if people want to get in touch with you, if people want to find out more about what you've got going on, how can they do so?
Yes, it's easy to get in touch with me. cowboyjoe.me. It's got more information about me, got information about courses and different events. And then also you can schedule a one-on-one call. I do a 20-minute one-on-one Zoom call to evaluate whether or not you're a fit for my programs. As I said earlier, I work with people I want to work with. I work with heart-centered individuals that are wanting to make a difference, and both in their lives, their families' lives, and then eventually in the world. But you got to start with yourself, because like everybody says on the airplane, put your oxygen mask on first before you help others. It's the same thing. You got to get your life straight before you start helping other people get their life straight. That's cowboyjoe.me.
Very cool, very cool. Well, Joe, thank you so much, man. Have an awesome rest of your day there in Alabama.
Well, thank you very much, Barry. Thank you for inviting me on the program. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure too. Thank you.